So what intrigued you about this dance / art form?
Intrigued me. Well, let's start. What intrigued you? It was you. I think what intrigued you to get into training was.
No, well, for me, it's the wrong word to use. Kind of what intrigued me. For me, it was therapy.
Yeah.
For me, it was therapy. You know, I would go to a club and I would escape, get away from my life, my family, and everything. And I still remember the first time I ever went to a club was on Halloween, 1974, and everybody's dressed up and running around, and I freaked out with my friend. I was like, oh my God, if this is what I'm supposed to become, I don't want to come back. And he's like, don't worry about it. It's just Halloween. People just do that. I was like, okay. And then just because the deer dance is a Mexican folk dance that you portray a deer. You have to really portray an animal. And the deer is being hunted by two hunters. So he's always on the lookout and running around and trying to escape. And if you really look at the punking aspect and the form and the soul and the heart of it, it's the same thing. It's a silent movie that happens to have a score, which is what's playing, as opposed to other people that I think even sometimes dance to what's playing. We happen to be moving and pretended that was coming out of us. We were on a whole different level in our head, because even if we didn't like the song sometimes, we would still pretend we were someone else, or we were in a movie and someone was filming us. You know what I mean? So it was an escape on all aspects. You know, and then I started training to really find out how my body could take me to another level and different directions. Because for me, it's not about you can do this, you can do that. I wanted to artistically be able to stand there and move a finger at the right moment and have someone go, oh, what did he just do? And all I did was move a finger. So that's what it is for me.
I forgot the question, sorry. I got into Viktor.
I was saying, what intrigued you about this art form?
Dance in itself, I grew up with it. My parents were always dancing all the time. My mom always put music on in the morning and would be in the kitchen doing her little salsa steps while she's doing the dishes and cooking. So I kind of grew up with all this like music and stuff. And then I had an older brother and an older sister, and they were dancers and singers. So I was kind of not bound for it, but it was such a part of their life. They weren't dancers, so to say. It was just a feeling and a release and an enjoyable thing to do. And then when I found avenues of how I could get on stage and actually perform, I didn't even realize about the money at the time. I just liked the idea of getting on stage and performing and being free with it, you know? So that's kind of how I got involved with it. And I got involved with it professionally at 13. And I've been doing it for over 35 years now, and I've never stopped. So it kind of was that. And each dance that I learned, like the locking was one thing that intrigued me. The punking, posing, and whacking intrigued me. And then there's other little things I learned, but those two really had a ground of foundation and a group that you could pick from. It wasn't just one specific thing. It was a collective things of different people giving you a form of something from the same rooting, which I found was like family. So I really liked all that. So that's kind of, I hope I answered your question. Okay.
What intrigued you about the dance?
Well, what intrigued me about dance in general is just the overall vibe of the people who were doing it and wanting to be expressive of that and finding my own voice within it. So that's what intrigued me initially. But when I saw people fusing popping and locking into the hip-hop dance circuit in choreography and in the clubs, I wanted to learn these dances separately, authentically, so I can really know how to find my own way to mix it and do it my way, as opposed to just looking like I'm looking like somebody else, or just imitating, looking like it's like it's not coming from a real place, like I'm wearing it like a shirt. It needed to be something that had to be fused with me as an artist. So. And of course, growing up and seeing people like Rerun on TV and watching movies like Breaking 1 and 2, which she was in, and all the host of people that were in there. And he was in Breaking 2 also, along with Abbiw and all these other people who were in this movie. That really inspired me to really understand what these dances were separately. So I went to specific people for specific things in hopes to really garner a real sense of how to do these dances on a basic level correct. But through a lot of trial and error and having the good fortune of having people who had walked into my life to give me the right tools to access that, it really was a benefit to me, and now I have a better sense of how to execute the dance and then say what I need to say within it.
Okay, well, to be honest, in the very beginning, I seen a lot of people doing it and a lot of girls or women attempting to do it, and I really didn't care for it. I thought it was too gay.
Wow.
That was my real opinion. I was like, I looked at it, I won't say who do it, but I saw this guy doing it who was teaching it, I won't say who, and I looked at it the first time around, I was like, that just looks way too gay. I don't know about that dance. No, I'm not from Boston, I'm from Chicago. Okay. It was my first opinion. And I remember my friend telling me, like, no, I think all the arts are beautiful. It's all beautiful, gay, straight, whatever. I was like, I know, but that just looks a little too out there for me. So that was sort of where I felt about it when I first saw it. But, you see a lot of girls doing it to be cute and like, yeah. But then when I saw Anna do it, I knew it was a whole nother thing. Totally different. And then I started getting turned on. It got me to a point where I like what she's doing, so I'll go and take that teacher's class to get or try to find out about it. I knew that he wasn't the one for it, but at least it could shoot me in the right direction. So I started really, when I started digging and finding footage, I found footage of the originators. This is long before YouTube. But I found footage of the originators. I found footage of Anna when she was younger. I found him in the library, in Lincoln Center Library. When I started pulling in footage and then I started seeing it, I realized that this is not what we were doing here. It's an impression of it. This is way deeper than what people were doing, because I felt that people were being cute. But then when you see it and see it executed, even if it's a show, it's a whole nother level. And the drama and the power and just the feeling and the music, it was totally unlike anything that I had. It was different from Vogue, because Vogue had a totally different rhythm and a totally different attitude altogether. And I love Vogue. It's very beautiful to look at. But there was something about Whacking and that power and that strike and the drama and the ride, and then you stop and then you get emotional and you're wondering, and you're looking at this person and you're going, what the hell? It's unlike, and in hip hop, there's a groove and people do their weird body tricks, and people in locking, they have their own character. But, it was pretty obvious for me in those dances what it was. But for Whacking, I couldn't figure it out. It had to really go,
When I saw her in my class, she would participate and then she'd sit and she'd be sitting there going, like, what the? I see that. What? She was like reacting like that.
yeah, because I couldn't figure it out. Vogue, I could figure out. Nothing, and I'm not taking anything away from any dance out there, obviously. But I can figure it out, and I can understand and see it. Okay, I see what they're doing. But in Whacking, it was one of those things that just kind of was like, I don't get it. But it looks good. I don't understand, but it looks hot. I don't know what that moment was, but... No, because I wasn't drawn to it at first. Remember I told you? It took me seeing Anna come in and doing it the way she does it to make me wonder, okay, what was that? Because nobody in New York does it like that. Nobody that I have ever seen in New York up to that point, but I hadn't been in New York that long. But from what I was seeing and what the girls or whatever they were doing, and a lot of people in the house scene were playing with it or doing an impression of it because that's just what that community is about. It takes into consideration everything. It wasn't like that. Even when I saw him in Lincoln Center Library and he came out and did his solo, I was like, and I went back to my teacher. I said, we don't do that. Why don't we do that? What is he doing that how come you don't teach that? What is that? You know? And then fortunately, I got lucky that I got to actually meet and work with these individuals very closely. And they were willing to give me the information that I sought for it, because I knew that it was way beyond what we were experiencing or thinking or what our impression of it was. And the more I got into it, the more I couldn't stop. I just got hooked.
And I'll say, being a club kid, I kind of, first of all, for me, dance is about freedom for me. My household was very strict. I was not feeling that, but I was very respectful. So I chose to live another life outside of the one that, because we all compartmentalize, So I chose to live another life outside of the one that I had at home. And I got a lot of heat for it, And I remember I was introduced to a club called The Loft, because I was working in a movie theater, and the guy said, listen, I got this party we'll go to. So I went to this party. He said, but it's $6.99. I said, $6.99? And there was a jar there with pennies, and you took your penny after you left. So we went to this club, and I thought, oh, wow, this is dope. This is great, and I got hooked. Because I used to go to the regular clubs and wear my clothes, but I always destroyed my suits and ripped the pants, because sooner or later, this leg is going up in the air, and rip, there goes the pants. So, that's when I found the love in the club was Come As You Are. So, that got me started in the whole club scene. But as a kid, with the whole whacking thing, once again, I was my mom didn't allow me to dance, so I had to use TV. TV was my YouTube. And I had to get whatever little impression I could get from the television, at least to get me started. So it was kind of weird, like how Alyssa was saying. I ended up dancing with a West Coast flair in the East Coast. So I always was like that little oddball on the dance floor. They're like, well, what is he doing? Whether I was throwing my arms right or wrong, it's like, well, we don't do that here. In the early 70s, they didn't do that. And then when 72 came along and when Hustle came, then we always used to just bounce from different scenes. So one scene, we were in the Hustle scene because it's social. Next scene, we were in the club scene because there really wasn't house then. It was just considered club, freedom dancing. That's what we did, But one nurtured the other one, because back then everybody did the same thing to the same music. I would say, no, correction. We did different things to the same music. Like if your feeling was like to do some kind of partnering, well, if disco was playing, that's what you did. Or if you wanted to Vogue, because a lot of Vogue, original Vogue, is on disco. There were two poles, East Coast and West Coast, that were developing at the same time. Different flavors, different, as I like to say it, same language, different dialect. The intent is the same. It's all emotional based. It's all, how do you say, an emotional release of either being somebody else or enjoying something else that's bigger than yourself, but it's spiritual. It really is. Oh, Willie, my baby. I met that boy voguing in Washington Square Park. I'll never forget it. It was 1982. I just got out the club. I walked to Washington Square Park, and there's Willie carrying on, and I'm like, what is that? Because back then, he was doing Old Way, and Old Way is very Egyptian-looking, hieroglyphics, martial arts, and military. When I saw that, I said, yo, I got to get some of that. I got to do that. But when I got to see it more, now, the gay thing was like an issue, because back then, if you were over feminine, it was like, oh. And the thing is, I'm a straight guy raised in a gay scene. Now in New York, we really don't really care about that, because if you're in the club, you're there for one reason. You're there for the music. And it's no big secret, the gay clubs were the hot ones. The straight clubs were like, but the gay clubs, that's where the music was. So that's where we went. And I found people, as we call them, the same ilk. We all were there for the music. So that we made these friendships and all this, that, and the other. And it was dope. And it was one big happy family. And that's why till today, I believe the scene is nurturing for that. You know? I have an issue when it's not.
He wanted to touch base on something.
What's interesting that he said about Willie Ninja is I do remember one Sunday night when they were having a preliminary for the grand finals. This tall guy came in that Michael happened to know, Michelangelo. I don't know if it was 77 or 76, but this tall guy came in and he danced to Kashmir by Led Zeppelin. And he did this whole thing that was like Egyptian hieroglyphics on his knees, but everything was very linear. And he actually won that night, but he never came back for the grand finals. But I'll never forget, it was Kashmir. And the only reason I wasn't attracted to that was because it was too self-contained. And for me, I needed to explode. And that was the only difference, but I still remember that night when I saw that guy doing the shoulders and the hyperextension and the back and the arm, but it was all in like Egyptian hieroglyphics. Kashmir, that's what he danced to.
That's funny too, because because we are from LA, I ran into Willie also. And I was learning the punking, posing, and whacking. And it was 1976, and I remember because it was me and my brother. And there was this guy who just looked beautiful, first of all. You know, the way he dressed and had his hair and everything. And he was doing like these tut forms. And I'm over there flaring it and just carrying on, trying to do the whacking and the punking and the posing. And he was so but yet he was riding this rhythm. It's still, to me, Willie has this edge when I see him now. Something, but we want to talk about Willie because he's not here anymore, too. And we want to make sure people understand he touched a lot of lives. We're in the West Coast, and he touched our lives. I looked at him and I said, I will never do that dance. And he said, oh, come on, girl, come on. And he said, you can go like this. I said, show me a few moves. And he did. And I went, oh, I will never. And I said, why? And I said, because the way you do it, it is so eloquent and so beautiful on you that I would never give it justice. So I will never go there. So I never did the dance. He was amazing to me. And when I see Archie and Alyssa can vogue too, I don't know if a lot of people know that, but they have such their own flair. But I know Willie was that influence within their structure because that elegance about it and the pureness about it, we all got affected by this man. And I only saw him one time.